But Job's words only seem to egg his interlocutors on. Eliphaz had implied that Job was a sinner. Bildad had baldly asserted that his sons had died for their sins. And now Zophar is going to claim that actually Job is suffering less than he deserves. And Job isn't persuaded. He isn't persuaded that he has sinned, or more precisely, that he has sinned in proportion to the punishment he is now suffering. God is simply unjust. The Job of this poetic dialogue portion of the book is hardly patient or pious. He is angry, he's violent, he argues, he complains, and he vehemently insists upon his innocence. In the fourth speech by Job, now this is the speech that opens the second cycle of speeches, Job appeals to creation. God's controlling power is arbitrary and unprincipled. He interferes with the natural order, he interferes with the human order, and this is itself a subversion of the Genesis portrait of creation as a process whose goal and crown is humankind. Again, Job demands a trial. He demands a trial in the widely quoted and mistranslated verse. This is Job 13, verse 15. He may well slay me. I have no hope, but I must argue my case before him. In other words, Job knows that he can't win, but he still wants his day in court. He wants to make his accusation of God's mismanagement. He wants to voice his protest, even though he knows it will gain him nothing. And in a pun on his name, Yov, Job asks God, "Why do you hide your face and treat me like an enemy, treat me like an oyev?" 13, verse 28. In his second speech, Job fully expects to be murdered, not executed, but murdered by God, and hopes only that the evidence of his murder will not be concealed. He says in 16, verse 18, "Earth, do not cover my blood." And Job's third speech reiterates this desire, the desire that the wrong against him not be forgotten. "Would that my words were written, would that they were engraved in an inscription with an iron stylus and lead, forever in rock they were incised." Chapter 19, verses 23 to 24. Job's three speeches in the second cycle become increasingly emotional, and for their part, the speeches of his friends in this cycle become increasingly cruel. Their insistence that suffering is always a sure sign of sin seems to justify hostility towards and contempt for Job. He's now depicted as universally mocked and humiliated and despised and abused. And one cannot help but see in this characterization of Job's friends, so-called friends, an incisive commentary on the callous human propensity to blame the victim, and to do so lest our tidy and comfortable picture of a moral universe in which the righteous do not suffer should come apart at the seams, as Job's has.